Hi, I'm Sarah from Emerald Ant, and I'm bringing you the second activity from our new pack, Ancient Inventions. Today I'm going to talk to you about straight lines. Oh, no, don't run off. Hang on a minute, because straight lines were one of the most important inventions. Have you ever thought about where we'd be without them? Now, can you imagine a world without straight lines? I mean, what if your dinner just fell off the table? Weird. Right, let's get back to business. Today, we're going to look at the construction techniques used 4,700 years ago by the first pyramid builder of ancient Egypt, Imhotep. Imhotep came from a lowly background, but he was such a genius that after death he rose to the level of a god. Whilst he was still alive though, he studied hard at his desk, learning about the stars, architecture and people's health problems. He found the answers to many conundrums. Let's look at his pyramid, Pyramid Djoser. This giant tomb for Pharaoh Djoser stood at 62 metres tall and had a base of 109 by 121 metres. As the first pyramid, it led the way for many more to come. Imhotep didn't have a geometry set or smart builder's tools. Instead, he had to work with what was around. And what was around was, well, plants. Papyrus, actually. I don't think he had a pet bird of paradise. From papyrus came twine. And from the ground came a very important drawing tool, chalk. We'll talk about chalk later. In this film, we're going to use string and chalk just like Imhotep. We're going to create exact straight lines, circles and triangles like the world's first architects. By the end, you'll be able to create amazing symmetrical stick people just using your clever brains and these simple materials. Right, let's start. Let's talk about chalk. Chalk's been around since way before humans and has therefore been available to us as a great drawing tool. It's formed of many particles of sea creatures called plankton. The south coast of England is made up of chalk, and many of us live on chalky grasslands. I've just been out and collected that bit. And whilst I was out, I found something very exciting. A sea urchin fossil. This is made of flint, which is always found close to chalk, and it's called an echinoid. Scientists believe these are around 125 million years old. We normally buy chalk that looks like this, but now we're going to get powder chalk. And you can find that easily as a filler for these chalk lines. It's good to have different coloured string to your chalk. So therefore here, because I'm a bit fancy, I've got 3 different colours of string and 4 different chalks. You need to have measured your string first, making sure it's the right length for the line you want to create. You're going to tie a knot around the end of the drawing pin. Tape the other end onto the jar there so that it doesn't all get submerged in the chalk and make a terrible mess. Okay, believe me, I've done all this and I've made a right old mess. We're going to pop that in there and feed the rest of the string in. We're going to take it out. Always work with a bit of scrap paper underneath. That way you can put any excess chalk back into the jar later. Just give it a little shake off. And then all you need to do is snip that off. There's your chalk, and your chalk line is ready to use. You're going to need something heavy like a fishing weight or a rock that you can tie onto your string to create your plumb line. Let's talk briefly about surfaces. I recommend sugar paper, darker paper's good. Also packaging paper's quite nice as well. If you're working on your own and you're using lots of drawing pins, you're going to need a surface that you can stick them into. I'm suggesting old plastic for sale signs, which if you're lucky enough to see one hanging around that's not being used, or maybe you can help clear up the environment by picking these up. They're fabulous and you can cut them easily to size, and you can stick lots of pins into them and they're great. Alternatively, probably some thick cardboard is good as well, and you put your paper on top of those, of course. Next thing is to mark where your line's going to go. So I'm going to make 2 points, and then because I'm on my own, I'm going to actually put a drawing pin over here. If you're working with 2 people, then the other person can just hold it. Tie that end onto the drawing pin, bring the point to the other side, and so by now, you know that Imhotep was no twit. He also knew how to do vertical lines. First of all, you want to measure your string. Make sure it's the right length for where you want to put your line. You're going to attach a weight. Dunk your string in the chalk first, as I showed you before. Then put a pin in the top, or get someone to hold it. Let it hang and wait for the weight to settle. And let's create a circle. No, not like that. Put your drawing pin in the middle of your circle, then tie a knot around it. Then measure around where you want the edge of your circle to be. That's the circumference. Add a little bit of extra length to your string and then snip it. Then tie another knot and put your chalk in. Do another knot over that one and pull it tight. That'll stop the chalk slipping. Right, let's see what we can do. You need to keep the string very taut as you do this. And hey presto! Now we're going to look at making a cross shape here, and this would be how Imhotep would have calculated the height of his pyramid, with this line being the ground. So I've put in a line just like before, and it's important you do this in the middle of your piece of paper. I'm going to make 2 points where I'm going to have the centre of my 2 circles. You don't have to draw in the whole circle here. Where those circles meet, you're going to have a straight line, which will be at right angles to the blue line. And there we are. Here's the whole of Pyramid Djoser, but if we take half, we've got a right-angled triangle here with an angle of 90 degrees. We know that half the base measures 60 metres because the whole width is 120 metres. We also know that the height of the pyramid is 60 metres. Oh, there's the sun. Now, Imhotep needed to know how much stone to order to complete the pyramid, and with those two measurements he could work that out using a mathematical theory that came to be known as Pythagoras' theorem. Phew! The length is 84.85 metres. If you want to find out more about this theory, you can look here. So now you've learnt all the techniques, you'll be wanting to get creative. I've come up to the Emerald Ant workshop to do this because there's lots of big spaces. And this is a magical place, a place full of half-finished projects and theatrical whatnot. And here is our lovely friend Beetle. I've set up a big vertical board so I can film this. Now, if you want to use all the techniques you've learnt so far, you'll need to have your picture vertical, but it doesn't have to be this big, it could be an A3. And make sure it's pinned flat on a wall. Before you start, it's good to do a little sketch of your stick girl or boy and think about which lines you're going to put in first. The first thing is to find the centre line of your canvas. Measure a piece of string across the width, then trim it to the right length. Then fold it in half and stretch it across again. And that will mark the middle of the width of your canvas. Dunk your string in the chalk as normal. Mark 2 points across the top and stick the pin in place. Then let it... You might want to extend the line like this. Next, put the legs in, using the same method as before, and try to keep them symmetrical, the same on both sides. Now I'm putting in the bottom line of her skirt, a horizontal line that crosses both legs. I'm going to use circles like I showed you before. Now it's the head. First make sure the length of the string is right for the size of the head. Make sure there's space for her neck. Work out where to use circles and lines to give her hands, feet and shoes. Use circles to put in a mouth, eyes and a nose. Now I've finished my drawing, I'm going to paint my stick girl in the style of ancient cave paintings using soil and egg. To learn how to do this, see activity number 1, Paint like a caveman. I hope you've enjoyed using the techniques of the world's first architects. If you have any comments or pictures, we love to see your pictures. Please send them to the email address that follows. Hey! Oh. And of course, straight lines love to go bendy.